A brief history and creepy things in Animal Crossing based on my own opinion. I've covered this one once before, but it's so iconic it needs to be included in a whole video of Animal Crossing creepy discoveries. The original Animal Crossing on the GameCube in 2001. Having not saved the game while traveling on the train, logging back in, the villagers will warn you of losing all your money, items, and the scariest of all, your face. Walking out of your house, you now seem to share the same face as a gyroid. And if not that, perhaps the Re-Dead in Legend of Zelda. Surprisingly, the inclusion seems to be deliberate by Nintendo. Often, when not saving, Rossetti will just pester you, but this one is very much deliberate in making you talk to a gyroid statue telling you to save properly next time. I think my favorite of the GameCube discoveries, the tomato juice t-shirt. Later censored internationally as the fishbone shirt, well, the tomato shirt looks a lot like a blood-covered shirt. And well enough, while doing some research, the original concept of it was blood-stained, but changed to tomato juice as a joke. And even stranger enough, it can be found in the police station looking like evidence, but common shirts seem to just show up there in general. Next, we have the King Tut mask, first introduced in this game, but shows up in every entry after this. The sound for equipping the mask is a deeper, more distorted version of the regular equipping sound. Not just this, but now when you run, you'll often trip wherever you travel, and the likelihood of getting caught by tarantulas and scorpions are significantly increased, leading you to believe the mask is truly cursed. For 12,000 bells, no thanks, Able Sisters. Something more minuscule, but still eerie, is the late night music in the game. Starting at 11 PM, the music becomes more minimalistic and a bit hollow. People mention 11 PM to 2 AM are creepy, but I think just the 11 PM and midnight hourly themes are a bit unsettling. The next in-game entry is 2008's Animal Crossing City Folk for the Wii. Nothing stands out too drastically, but the one thing I did enjoy was the difference of deleting your world compared to the others. Of course, all the villagers look sad in the other games, but Rover in City Folk looks so much more distressed, and the very dim light shining on him and the hollow void he's standing in really sells the want to not have you delete the world. Our third game, 2012's Animal Crossing New Leaf. Again, I've mentioned this one as well, but it's iconic and I love it. It's also in New Horizons, but at the time, 3:33 AM on the TV, an alien broadcast will show up. Not really scary, but I think it's cool. Maybe to a younger audience, it would be more unsettling as the static and sounds are a bit strange. Jumping into some themed furniture, which also seems to continue in the next game, first being the creepy statue, made of dark stone, and when interacted with, its eyes glow. Then there's the creepy crystal, and when that's interacted with, a moaning face appears that follows your character as you walk around. Finally, let's bring up the music again. It's always the late night music that brings the darker vibes. People bring up the 7 PM music as being darker, and you can hear it a bit compared to the others, but to me it's just more calm and mellow, almost like Minecraft music. Again, I think I truly feel the music change during 1 AM. It's much more sorrowful and almost sad. It reminds me a bit of Halo 3 ODST's Heavy Rain. Beautiful, but dreary. 4 AM shares the same sorrowful feeling. But then 5 AM hits. It sounds more peaceful again, but with some distortion in the mix. Again, not entirely the most disturbing, but just a bit strange, like all the other choices of offhand tunes. Lastly, in the entries of games before a multitude of random things, 2020's Animal Crossing New Horizons. I want to mention Jolly Red, or Crazy Red. Yes, he's been in every other game, also as a con artist, running black markets. Well, it gets even more unsettling in this entry. His boat, which is more or less run down, questioning yourself to not board without permission, waiting for Red to invite you in. Once you enter, the music changes and begins to envelop the visuals of the interior. Dimly lit, cluttered, not very high-end, but somehow selling masterpiece art. He's always watching you, and his dialogue is unsettling as well. Once you leave, you're scot-free, right? Not quite. Hanging up a fake piece of art, whether it's the girl with the pearl earrings, who will open and close her eyes, or several other fakes, which either levitate or contort their faces. I'm not even sure if Red knows they're haunted. Regardless, be careful around some of the villagers. Next, we have the Western Gravestone, not entirely terrifying, but this can be brought or given out to you by other villagers. It isn't entirely scary, but it's very realistic, even more depressing with the flower, all signifying that a villager died. And it's all the more believable when you eventually stumble upon a wisp who's searching for its lost spirits. Maybe this can also tie into the fake art's hauntings. The 2.0 update also added a handful of items and decorations. 2 of these are wallpapers. First, the graveyard wallpaper. A creepy aesthetic, yes, but turning the lights off, oh, this is where the nightmare fuel encapsulates your room. A ghostly figure is spotted in the background. Well, if you decide to turn the lights on and off again, it seems to be ever so closer, until you've cycled several times and it's right in the foreground, now between the trees closest to you. The second wallpaper is the candle walls, which when you have the magic circle flooring decoration, turning the lights off, like the last piece, it will emit a spiritual glow. Maybe just try not to summon anything. Lastly in this game, and very briefly, is the alien appearing again at 3:33 AM. Silly creepy little guy. Into the 2 final larger topics that have several instances, similar to the music in the game. KK Slider's music. There's a handful of them that just ring unsettling, the first being which I've also mentioned before. KK Durge means mournful song. No wonder the track features creepy moans, strange synth noises, and ending in repeated several bangs. Then we have KK Lullaby, which is honestly pretty normal across the board, besides when the vinyl track replays itself, which being so random midway through the song can catch you off guard. For the third song, we have Hypno KK, which ironically, the title is reversed compared to all the others, and it seems to mimic the track as it seems to all be in reverse as well. For the fourth and final song that sends the same shivers down my spine is KK Swing. It's slow, almost Halloween-fitting music. It reminds me of early Disney's creepy animations, like Mickey Mouse Haunted House. The strange loud spikes and notes and reversed parts add to the creepiness 100%. And for our very final topic, we have the gyroids. Most have hollow eyes and mouths, either staring or somewhat screaming looking faces. There are 38 different families, each with their own characteristics. I'll go in order of their names, and by how creepy they are. The first unsettling one, I feel, would be the dingoids. There are several variations in size. They share that screaming frozen face and make echoing ding noises. All in conjunction sounds a bit unnerving. Echoloids are second in my mind. Coming in 3 sizes, they have again that screaming face. This time, the echo they produce makes them a bit more surrounded in loneliness, which is how they make me feel. Thirdly, I think freakoids have a creepy face, but are a bit funny. I feel like howloids are the gyroids that freakoids wish they were. They jump and scream with a face of panic. Their audio is short and cut off, like they can't exactly express their distress, all with different pitches, sounding a bit human. Another just strangely unnerving one would be lamentoids. Already in the thought of sadness and lament, they have colorful faces that don't quite scream enough human emotion into them, giving how they look and sound that much creepier. The gyroid I think is by far the scariest would be poltergoids. Teeth-like smile and those almost jolly hollow eyes. They don't do much but shake and have a very empty feeling. You just feel completely alone even with them there. It gets really creepy staring at them for too long. Finally, we have rustoids. They look like they're in distress, as their movements are short and sharp, with pained facial expressions, and their sound is no better, as it sounds so dull. A final mention about the gyroids is what they're based on in real life, called Haniwa. During the Kofan period, from 300 to 538 CE, these terracotta figures were buried with the dead as funerary objects. Alright, I lied. This is now the final topic. I'll jump through it quickly, but I wanted to mention some creepy villagers as well. There are plenty, but my top 3, which can already be guessed, is first, Pietro, with the look of a classic clown. Not really scary, but to be honest, I wanted to include him because clowns are one of my favorite things. I will say his aesthetic fits perfectly in a too childlike look, bringing that feeling of unsettling when you really look and think for too long. Second, we have Stitches, a non-animal villager who is a teddy bear with a mixed assortment of colors, almost Frankenstein-like. The X-shaped eyes also drive that feeling of suspense higher, and just like Pietro, he also has a childlike room. For our third, and just completely unsettling overall, we have Coco. Much more real than our unsaved GameCube Easter egg face, and with a very close resemblance to gyroids. Coco stares into your soul, with the gaped mouth and hollow eyes. The interior of her house doesn't scream scary, but it's all very dull and neutral colors, adding to the drain and joy when you enter and look at her. Well, that's all folks. Thanks for watching and have a good one. Bye bye.